Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Just taking a moment to see everyone, taking the names, some familiar faces, names, and some new ones. So thank you for joining us today evening. A little space for us to listen from our alumni from the one-year course. We'll begin with just coming into this space, just taking a look at all the screens and just inviting, if it's possible for you to put on your screen, it will be lovely to also see you around. Thank you everyone for joining in. The exploration today is around our one-year course offering from Just Being Center for Mindfulness and Presence. So the one-year course really looks into the course title itself, Mindfulness-Based Counseling Listening with Embodied Presence, is the title of the course, and it really explores elements around mindfulness and listening, and this building the capacity of holding space for oneself and the other. It's a one-year course starting in August, moving on till the next year. And our intention here is for anyone who is willing to explore the course to listen in from the alumni today. Perhaps you have questions, any other doubts, you can bring it in the Q&A part we have towards the end of the conversation, and we'll see if we can respond to them. So just keeping this space as a entry point into your curiosity of getting to know the course for people who are here and who would also be looking at the recording. We had a couple of them signed up. I'm not sure everyone could make it right now. So a little bit about Just Being Center for Mindfulness and Presence. We began in 2011, officially as with this name. Sure, the seeds were there from long before that. And Sandy is here with us. Sandy is the founder director of Just Being Center, and from our deepest heart's desire is this exploration of what it means to really come into the sense of beingness, and from that space really respond to the world, life, and mindfulness and presence being the core of the offerings that we offer at Just Being. So I'll just invite Sandy to speak a little bit more about the one-year program, and we'll then move into listening from our lab. So yes.
Thank you, Shibi, and thank you, Aziza, Gretchen, Gyanvi, Revati for joining in, and everyone else also, and also those who haven't joined in but signed up. We will be sharing the recording with them. So, a little bit about I think that this whole course really started with this intention that we really need more listening spaces in the world, in communities, or whether it is individual or groups, and that maybe, of course, those with a psychology background, social work background, come into the course, gather the skills, gather the attitudes, the very foundational pieces that are really needed to hold space. But it is also, the course is also open to anyone who feels inclined to offer such spaces. And therefore the course learning, the way it is, and you'll hear from the alumni perhaps more, but the way the course is designed, the way it is taught, the way it is learned is therefore very experiential. Because at some level, we can't really learn what it means to hold space for others without really knowing that within ourselves of how it is to be received in that way, and what it does within when one is met and sometimes even when one is not met. So, so the course is, while um, it draws from psychology, it draws from the Rogerian perspectives, it draws from mindfulness perspectives, it draws from neuroscience. While it draws from all of this, the real learning and the real holding is from really being grounded within oneself, encountering oneself, and then from that space being able to hold that space for others. So I won't say much about this because we have the living examples and experiences of those who move through the course uh, as learners and in their own right, where they are practicing in their own domains of expertise, and we can learn from them or hear from them as to how it was for them. Um, and maybe in so doing, it answers some questions or it clarifies something for us as well. So, yeah. So over to you, Aziza, or Shibi. You want to introduce Aziza?
Thank you, Sandy. Yeah, really taking in this holding space for others really comes in as how we've received it for ourselves. So, okay, so in that light, I'm going to invite Aziza. Aziza also background in psychology and public policy and has over a decade of experience in the developmental sector. And she really enjoys creating spaces of reflection and self-connection. And she really brings in an eclectic mix of presence-oriented practices, arts work, nonviolent communication, uh, just finds deep meaning in exploring the inner world and accompanying as they do. So, Aziza, if you could just maybe speak a little about how the course has been for you, what are your learnings from that?
Thank you, Shibi, and good evening to everyone. Thank you for being here today. And yeah, I'm feeling someplace in me feels giddy and excited and nervous all at the same time. Uh, and as I feel my feet on the ground, I get in touch with this sense of humility and here-ness. Yeah, and thank you for inviting me to share about my journey, because it also gives me this chance to connect with what was really important for me. And yeah, so grateful for that. And yeah, and coming back to the question, the inquiry today, I think, for me as a person growing up, I just sharing a little bit about what was my experience and context. I think growing up, I learned to behave in ways that or responded to people or would listen or would do things in a way to really sustain connection or attachment in relationships that I was in. Um, Caregivers, outsiders, friends, relatives, work colleagues, anyone really. And that often looked like me being there for others, emotionally or physically, in a way that I was giving it my all, and I would end up quite often feeling depleted or frustrated, sometimes resentful doing this. And I realized that it was also this, it would be like some place in me that just wanted to preserve and protect this need to be loved, to be accepted. And that was this context from which I was operating, listening, just living, being in the world. And coming to this course, one of the core insights that was deepened was that listening is a multi-sensory experience. It's head and heart and body, and it's all connected, and it's simultaneously involved. And so what we really learned and practiced intensively in the course was how to listen to another while listening to myself, not despite myself, but along with myself, and with all my senses online. Um, and learning to listen in this way, with this awareness, it felt like a whole different experience. Because it brought attention to how am I doing as I'm listening to you, and relating to you without losing myself, or what's important for me, or what I need. So really like holding both me and the other. And then there were also all these tools that we learned, to come back to my sense of okayness when I'm listening to something really difficult for the other. And noticing that when something is stirred up in me when I'm listening, when and what that is, and how can I attend to it in a way that is honoring to me and the other, to both of us at an appropriate time. And yeah, so the skills that we learned, all the practices that we did during the course, during the modules and after, with the peers, and even with outsiders, with sessions with others, all the daily practices, all the assignments, I'd say they were really experiments in building this skill of interoception, noticing, observing, me while I am being in relation to you, or connection to you, noticing my capacities, and really being conscious of how am I as I listen to you. Because when I am aware of that, in that moment, that's when I have the choice to choose to be how I want to listen. Yeah. So, yeah, and so another gift that this course gave me was the sessions with my peers, and like a community of people with shared values, with shared intentions, and willingness to do that rigorous work on ourselves, with each other, and that openness to flow with it, and to be however we are when that happens. And initially, when we were asked to do these sessions with peers, parts of me felt very challenged to to be vulnerable with somebody who I don't know anything about, and as a part of the process, I'm designed not to know much about either. So, like, yeah, go open up. um, but I really later came to realize what a gold mine I had access uh, to have the presence and this willingness of the other to flow with me and to co-create this space for both of us, where we can feel held and support ourselves and each other. And in so many ways, that was a corrective experience. It reinstilled like the sense of self-trust and this agency and emotional safety for me. And honestly, it has felt like a privilege to have that at times. I can see smiles on faces of people in the room, and yeah, I know that chord resonates. Yeah, and on the same thread, also realizing through this rigorous practice of the year how important and essential and how valuable it is to keep coming back to myself. And this beautiful process of inner listening, which was introduced, which is again a pure practice. And it's something that I've carried into my regular life. And it has become like this essential pillar for me to uphold my commitment to doing my inner work, so that what I offer to others is genuine and it can be supported for them. So yeah. Overall, I think this course is such a rich bundle of resources. And with all of these principles, these approaches, the practices, tools, mindsets, which really train you to embody presence and aspects of of how it feels like in you when you're holding space for another from that place. And yeah, and so this course just so beautifully joins together the experiential aspects of compassion and mindfulness and techniques from neuroscience and trauma-informed practices and somatic awareness inquiry and sufficient theory frameworks to spark your curiosity, and then you can always deepen into it if you want to go deeper. Oh. I think I'd just like to pause here by saying that for me, it opened doorways into places within me that I never expected to travel to. And I have been touched and completely moved by in more ways than I could ever imagine or even express. I'm just filled with gratitude and like this some sense of something settling in my belly as I speak about this, and just bringing everybody to mind and heart, all my peers, all my teachers, all my companions, everyone who trusted me and yeah, wanted to be heard by me. Yeah, just feeling deep gratitude. And to all of you, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Aziza. And we can all just hold, if one thing I have to pick up from what Aziza has mentioned, is multi-sensory experience of hearing. We can just all maybe just take a pause, check in within ourselves. How are we right now? What are we in touch with? Maybe make a note of it, or just name it for oneself in your own awareness. Just taking a pause here with Aziza's sharing. Thank you, Aziza, for really letting us move through all the experiences and insights. We'll now move to listen to Gretchen. I'll just maybe share a few words of what Gretchen is really engaged with. So Gretchen is a writer, has also collaborated with Indian and international publishing houses for over 2 decades, and she is currently a creative director at a Mumbai-based marketing agency. And her journey as a writer, editor, mentor, mother, and all of this is what has really drawn her towards, this mindfulness-based practitioner and exploring that. So, Gretchen, inviting you to let's talk a little about what's it like coming into being this mindfulness-based practitioner throughout the last year.
Thank you, Shibby. And just before I begin, I would just like to pause and say that I'm feeling an immense sense of gratitude after listening to Aziza sharing. And it's just reminded me of just all the goodness of this past year. So before I share my learnings and my experiences with the MBC course, I'd just like to share a little bit about how I arrived into it or what drew me to the course. And like Shibi mentioned, I've been a writer editor in publishing and advertising for over 20 years now. And my journey as not just a writer, but also a mentor and leading teams has also drew me to this observation, especially in the last maybe 6 to 8 years, where I was noticing that a lot of um, a lot of the areas where my team was coming to me, where they were getting stuck, was less to do with an improvement or a coaching in hard skills, and more to do with these soft skills of communication, how to have hard talks with other members of the team, how to emotional well-being, how to handle overwhelm in stressful situations. And a lot of my time used to and still goes in that, just sitting and being with that person and just kind of letting them pause, just to see what's going on in that moment. Um, and I was also noticing this in parenting circles and in myself when, I just became a mom, and those first few years of how everything can feel so overwhelming in a world where there's constant input and constant stimulus, because everyone has a solution for everything these days, whether it's parenting or whether it is the workplace. But the more I sat with it, and I have done a couple of courses before arriving here as well, the more I sat with it, the more the thing that came up for me was that in all of it, whether it was in kind of tapping into a certain creative ability within or helping a team member do it, or within myself for that matter, or tapping into, what I need to give my child in this moment, a lot of it had to do with this connection to self and sort of a dimming of that connection to self in uh, when you sort of put it in, this world where you're constantly looking outside yourself for the answers. And I've also been, a self-taught, self-exploratory mindfulness practitioner for over 10 years now, and so kind of um, just bringing all of that together, there was something in me that um, was kind of arriving and is still arriving at this emerging purpose of offering spaces, whether it's one-on-one or in a group setting, just spaces of safety that allow people to slow down. So I knew I had all these pieces of the puzzle, and I knew that, it the further learning that I wanted to do was in the area of psychology in mental health. But and I looked up courses, but something was not clicking. There was something that was not really resonating with that part of me that had that inner knowing, that inner wisdom, that had over the years learned to rely on that, like what was happening within. Um, and then eventually a friend introduced me to one of her friends who is um, a clinical psychologist and an MBC alumnus. And she just sat with me for over an hour and she listened to the unedited version of what I just, shared right now, to all these parts that were sort of connecting but not exactly connecting. And I think that was the first time, perhaps, that I really felt listened to, that I really felt there was this witnessing of all of this that had been going on in me for a couple of years, and like wanting to know this path but not knowing. And after all that, all she said was she didn't, there was no hard selling, there was just this kind of very gentle knowing that from whatever you've shared, I think you should, check out this course. And she sent me the link later in the day to the MBC course from Just Being. And it was like something clicked very, very instantly when I, read the course details. I was like, yes, this. So yeah, this course spoke to me at uh, a very intimate, very gentle sort of way, even before I, got into it. And it's really been it's really been a gift this past year. And there's been so much of unfolding and so much of healing that has taken place. And like Aziza said, there's also so much of uh, I'm paraphrasing here, but there's so much of work that goes into that unfolding and that unhealed and that unfurling and that healing. So it's not like, there have been very hard moments, but there's also that capacity building to sit with those really hard moments and know that you're supported in those moments. And I'd say that the biggest gift or the biggest teaching that I have received is that it's not entirely possible to hold space for another until you've learned how to hold space for yourself. And I have like come to understand this in a couple of ways. And the first is like a really deep connection, a gentle connection to self. Just being aware of, my inner world. And for that matter, just even sitting here before Shibi introduced me, and just those feeling sensations of a little bit of butterflies in the belly and what's happening in the heart space. And just knowing that okay, I'm gonna anchor through the feet now, and this is a safe space, it's okay, whatever happens. And this capacity for, connection to self is brought about is introduced so gently and built so gently. Like first it starts with the 40 days mindfulness practice. And then we have suggestions for formal and informal mindfulness practices, which we are, asked to document. And just that documentation process in itself can be it's reflective, but it's also like it's so nourishing in many ways, just to kind of reflect on the month that has gone by and see what's happening within you. And the other thing is that this trusting, the other aspect of, being able to hold myself is um, just building this trust in another to hold me. And that happens through the peer sessions, that happens through the one-on-one counseling sessions that we receive. Um, and again, as somebody who's an empath, somebody who's um, spent most of their life since childhood, in fact, being the listener, sometimes it's actually not sometimes, it was initially very hard for me to be the speaker. And I still remember those initial days where we just had to sit for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I think is what it started with. And I would not go beyond 3 minutes or maybe 5 minutes at most in sharing. I'd be like, something was very awkward, and, I didn't know what to share, and I don't have anything to share. And then slowly, as you sort of learn to um, trust the safety of that space. And also, as a peer, as you learn to build your capacity to offer that safety to another, um, the guards slowly start coming down, and you start to talk so much, and you sometimes like it's like, whoa, I didn't know there was that much to talk about, in me. And yeah, so that I'm very grateful to all of my peers really who've held space for me. And um, it's also such a beautiful exercise because you're not just learning how to hold space, but you're learning what it feels like to be held. And that's really important because you're also receiving, you're filling your jar as you're learning to give from it. Um, and it can really be such a, humbling experience, really. And it's such a space. Like a lot of my sessions I've ended with telling my peer that I really feel so honored to be witness to what you've just shared. And really, that's really such an honor, and such a beautiful experience. And um, what I also want to say is that there are parts of us that can feel so broken when we experience it in isolation. Um, but when we experience it with the company and the safety of another, it can just feel like part of a whole, and that's really such a wonderful experience, such a gift, really. And the other thing that I learned was that um, m- beyond this one-on-one interaction and trusting another, is this something bigger that's holding us, this community, something higher. And like I said, I've been meditating for over 10 years, but a lot of it has been in like a solo thing, looking up stuff online, audio tapes. But when you do it, when you practice, when you sit on the cushion in community, whether you're present for, 6 minutes or whether it's 16 or 60, um, it's all valid. It's all counted. And there is no like goal that we're chasing. And that is again so there's this weight that's just lifted off of you, that whatever is available right now for you, whatever your capacity, it's all right. And all of this really goes into building our capacities, as listeners, and just strengthening that, like just bit by bit, moment to moment. There's no rush. Um, I'd like to just share one or two personal experiences of how the course has shifted things in my life. Um, I think the biggest one for me, or the deepest shift, has been in how the course has deepened my relationship with motherhood. And there is no, when it comes to parenting and when it comes to, being a better parent or raising your child a certain way, there's no dearth of content out there. There's even scripts, But I think in this last year, and I've done a lot of reading, and I respect whatever I've learned through that reading. But I think in this last year, the big shift for me is that the real work in parenting is learning how to resource myself as a mother. And especially in moments when my child is unknowingly mirroring or triggering those parts of me that are not yet healed or are still in the process of healing. And just to be able to um, just acknowledge that in that moment, even if it's just taking like a minute or a few seconds for yourself before you are there for this other precious human in front of you, um, is everything, really. I mean, to be able to kind of um, look at yourself and look at what's happening within you, and also sort of uh, address those parts of you with empathy and kindness, just also gives you so much more, or has given me so much more strength to be there for my child, uh, and extending that even to my clients with a certain sense of softness and empathy that I think otherwise I would not even have entirely understood. That I would be, going through the motions. We've received a lot of tools, like Aziza mentioned, a lot of skills. And yes, I practice all of that, but um, none of it would have the kind of impact that it does without really truly having that sense of self, having that sense of kindness to myself, which this course has really given me, that it's allowed me that. Um, I have a few, I just have a few more points to mention on how the course is designed. Um, So when I still remember that first mail we received, where we had, these pointers of before the first class of what to bring and just general pointers. And one of the things that it said was treat these 3 days as a retreat. Um, and I still remember chuckling at it because, it's a hybrid course. A lot of, in fact, all of us, my batches sessions were online. And I was like, a retreat, in my bedroom, while beyond this room, there is a 9-year-old that's going wild because that's how, they need to be. And then on Fridays, like there were these WhatsApp pings from the office group, and I'm like, yeah, sure. And I have to say, a year later, I'm taking back my words, because those 3 days every month were really a retreat. And they came to be something that I really looked forward to. And I think that's only happened because of the sense of safety that the facilitators bring to the group. There is such a deep sense of safety that it makes it okay to slow down at your pace wherever you are. And that was really beautiful. Um, Also, the way the course is designed, how each concept is introduced with a felt sense first. And I was thinking about it yesterday, and I was feel the only analogy or reference that came to mind was I feel like Sandy and Harini are a bit like Mr. Miyagi from Karate Kid or Master Oogway from Kung Fu Panda, where they're both teaching you something so deep and often so soul changing, but without saying anything out loud. So often, like they'll offer, whether it's an activity, whether it is a listening circle, whatever it is, it's such a lateral experience that you are encouraged to really experience first before any theory is given. And the thing with that is when a concept is introduced in that way, the learning just seeps so much deeper, like it's in your being, you know. Um, I have my favorite quotes from both of them bookmarked in my head. I also have my, certain sessions that I've gone like, wow, the way to bring that in. And um, I will not share any of them because they feel like spoilers for anyone who chooses to pursue the course. Um, Even the assignments, I'm also just bringing it up because that was an point of apprehension for me, having a full-time job and then taking care of my kid. And I felt like I wouldn't be able to keep up. But they are the pace is designed very well. And also the assignments in many ways feel very meditative. And I've honestly relished them. Like, I don't think I've relished homework before the way I've relished these assignments. Um, and yeah, finally, I just have to say that how I really appreciate that how everything is designed and done with an acknowledgement of the world we live in today. It's not cut off, it's not like, oh, I have to cocoon myself in order to be this person, this mindfulness, or this, achieve a certain thing. Its pace, it takes into consideration the pace of working life, the pace of motherhood, the stimulus coming at you, the way the world is right now, this ideas of perfectionism we're faced with. And in spite or despite of all of this, to be able to still give yourself that space to slow down, even if it's for 3 minutes a day, is really a gift. um, And I just want to say, once again, I want to say thank you to Sandy, to Harini, to uh, all of our facilitators, all of my peers. And I really believe this course is for everyone, whether you intend to hold space formally or not, it really applies to everyone because um, at the end of the day, there will be some parts of us every day that plays the role of a listener. And it's really one of the best gifts I've given myself in recent times. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Gretchen. Just receiving all of that and uh, just feeling this sense of something very deeply touched within me also as I'm receiving all of that. Thank you. Memories of my courses also coming to me right now as I'm sitting here and holding the space. I did the course 5 years ago. Thank you. And I think to what even Aziza and Gretchen were really pointing out, to just feeling the ground and the feet and the contact. and even this capacity that we build over the year through various ways. How the assignments are mostly, I'll take Aziza's words, as an experiment, the documentation being a way how we meet uh, assignments. The word itself is quite heavy, so we hold that too. So thank you so much for really naming so many different elements throughout the course and how it's been for you. So perhaps we can see how we are doing right now. Do we can see some of us drinking water if that is required. Just seeing if you need a movement. Just allowing ourselves some time to just come in back to the space. A part of me is also wondering, you just heard two alumni, there's two more to listen to, and like, wow, okay, thank you. So I'm going to invite Revati. Revati Pillai is here with us, and she's a nature art and mindfulness practitioner, and she blends creativity with contemplative practices, and she brings in elements of nature, mindfulness, art, and nurtures a very simple, compassionate way of just being. So, Revati, thank you for saying yes for today. We can share how the course has been for you or any experiences that you've had that's really highlighted this whole skill of listening, holding space. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Shubhi. I hope I am audible. Yeah. I'm very glad, grateful, and very softened to be in this family again. Uh, yeah. Yeah. I have very much in kind of an experience that resonates with Aziza and Gretchen as well. Like, I guess, yeah, 99.99% of it maybe. Yeah, yeah. And for me, what brought me here to the course was um, I was really, really interested in living with nature and reading poetries and it was a time when I was really craving to be, uh, maybe getting little away from the doing mode and this question arose in me what it would be like to be just be and I just remember the journaling, the artworks that came to me while I was in that zone, in that questioning, in that inquiry. And right then I met few friends and there was a certain sense of magic in their presence. I would say that made me just simply be easy to be just whatever, whoever, wherever I am. And life gave me such glimpses of such people in my life, and where I experienced that quality of presence. And as in when I was inquiring about how did that come to them, or where did they learn that from? And yeah, each one went through their own path, and during that path, I met a few people who had done this course as well. And yeah, and I wasn't aware that they did this course, but just their presence in itself gave me so much space in my life during that time. And yeah, I am still in awe and in gratitude, and yeah, and still cherishing those moments and the experiences of being aware that there is space in life. Every time there is space in life, and it is also okay if you don't feel like there isn't any space in life. So yeah, and one of the persons I used to read is Rumi. For quite some long, Rumi has been has waved a path for me in life, which I'm really grateful for. And it was so beautiful to be with poems during the sessions. And for me, sometimes words are not very something that doesn't very come quickly. So, yeah, it was so beautiful to be in the way I want to be in the course and experience my being and express myself in the ways I feel comfortable with. So, that was also something I was also a bit apprehensive about, like, well, there'll be more writing, the course will have a deadline, those terms of trying to reach to a goal. But every time, as Gretchen was also mentioning, every time I sit with the assignments, it in itself was a sacred time for me to be with myself and to introspect what is happening as an experience to me. And yeah, the course gave me a lot of gifts to simplify my life, and I'm really interested in simplifying yeah, simplifying my being, and the course supported me a lot to just sit, to just be, and yeah, let things emerge. Yeah, I guess that's summed up. Thank you.
You, Revati. It's okay to be okay, and even if you're not okay, it's okay. That capacity, that awareness, and being with it. Thank you. Now I'm going to invite Gambi. So Gambi has been working as a creative professional for some years now, and she mentions about how this course has just helped her not only evolve as a human, but also become more attuned as an individual in her own creative expressions. And maybe listen more from Gyanvi, who's a filmmaker and a mindfulness-based listener, and how she's learned and unlearned throughout the course journey, and uh, how has it supported her. Yeah.
Thank you, Shivi. Hello, everyone. I have to admit before saying something that I feel a sense of uneasiness because, and I had been feeling this ever since I knew that this is coming, because this makes me an alumni, which I'm quite sad about in itself, because it just makes me realize that this is not going to happen every month. uh, so that is one thing that I'm really sitting with. Um, and I will really, really miss it. Because in the past 1 year, this course has anchored me to a great extent. Let me start from a little bit about myself, or how I came to this course. And so much has been already said that whatever structure I had actually given to what I will say, I have written with a pencil on top of it. So there's no more structure left to what I'm going to say. But yeah, I was introduced to mindfulness when I was a child, and my parents were following a certain organization and all of that. And then it stayed with me because mindfulness is a very, very deep practice, right? And if you introduce it as a child to someone, I think it will always stay with the child, even if the philosophy of where it comes from was not in agreement with me. So the quest remained of finding something which would be in agreement with me. But I did know that sitting with myself helps. This much I knew, at least as a child. And many years I have looked and looked and looked in wrong places and abandoned the practice of mindfulness itself, because I felt like maybe I'll never find something that will be true to the nature of what I am looking for. But it stayed with me because even during the most harshest times, I knew that if in this moment I could sit and observe everything that's going on around me, there was beauty. There was such immense beauty. That remained with me. Then years later, I found Tara Brack, who's a mindfulness-based teacher herself. And I just used to listen to her podcasts, and her podcasts made me realize that I need a community, and I also need something more. I've received something really nice, and I want to share this, or maybe even give some sort of reciprocal action to this, right? Because it was such a beautiful experience to come across compassion, self-compassion, common humanity, and all of these concepts. And I'm someone who's dealt a lot with critical inner voices. So compassion meant a lot to me. Yeah, like self-compassion movement meant a lot to me. Now, last year, what happened was that I was in a job. I've been working as a filmmaker, and I was in a job where uh, I ended up having panic attacks, and I left the job. And right after I left the job is when I found this course. So I think there is some brilliant storytelling there, because it felt like I was leaving this corporate world and going on a spiritual quest. And yes, this course is a lot like a spiritual quest in itself, and a quest that I was looking for a very long time, because this course is not a lot about telling you things, which was always my problem. Why are people telling me be this way, that way? It's not helping me in any way, or it's not even helping others. At best, what it is doing is giving a very directive sort of direction, which also doesn't help in the end, whatever. So, yeah, with this course, the inner listening of it all really helps, because in the last 1 year, I don't think I ever had that ability before in my life to really listen to myself and stand in that listening. Uh, because I would always be dependent on everything to be told to me. Uh, we we do grow up like that. We are told things and we follow those things, but we are never taught that you could really just sit with yourself and listen to yourself. And one of the beauty of the course is getting in touch with intention. Uh, that deepening of intention that happens through and through and through and through is has been life changing. It really, really grounds you, because you really understand why you are the way, or why life, where the life is, right? It gives you a sense of direction, maybe, is what I'm coming at. Yeah. So that's something that I just wanted to give a overall of what the quest of life was and where I did come. And it does it so in such scientific ways, because that was very important to me. I did not want a very subjective, just a subjective understanding of all of this. I wanted a very scientific understanding also of everything that was going around. So within me and around me, and of mindfulness. So that was a great gift of the course. Um, and of course, they say that it's not the survival of the fittest, but survival of the nurtured. And that this course has really given me that nurturing of self, uh, in a way that you can sit in front of another human being and really be there for them. Uh, with me, I have always been sort of a person who would listen to people and be empathetic, but I always felt like there would be judgments that would come up while I'm listening to another person. There would be some chatter that would keep on going on while another person is speaking. But the thing that shifted in the course was that chatter went away suddenly, because I could really be in the experience of my body and the experience of the person's body. And in the course of this 1 year, all the conversations I've had or have been, whether they are personal or professional or client sessions or whatever, I've really seen a shift in the other person when the person realizes that they are being listened to. Oh, this really is happening to them. It's a beautiful experience. So I think that happened for the first time to me, that I could listen without that wall and really be with the experience of the other person. Hmm. And I would also say that there were a lot of parts of myself that were very tough to hold and love. Um, that because they were tough to hold and love, that's why the critical voice, and that is why the judgment that would come while someone else is speaking also. Because when you're so critical towards yourself, of course you will listen with that kind of uh, intention, or not intention, like that just keeps on coming up for you. But that went away. Those tough parts, that didn't went go away. I mean, I just learned how to hold them in a very beautiful way. Um, Now, coming as a creative professional, I have a lot to thank the course for. I have never written as much in my life before as I've written in this 1 year. I have written so much. And I would, before this, I would be like, because for being a writer, you're always told that write no matter what, you know, no matter what, just keep writing. And I'm like, no, I don't want to write, because every time I would start writing, what would happen is that my thoughts would overtake my creative processes so badly that I would just think that better just leave this alone. But in the last 1 year, I have written so much, and I have written scripts, stories. I have went ahead and talked to people, which I would have never done before, because I really never really thought I could do it. But I have done all of those things, and surprisingly, I was like, where is this even coming from? I'm not even confident about any of this. But it was just that before talking to anybody, the intention was so clear in life that it just used to flow. So I've seen a great difference in how, as a creative, I've been able to express myself. Hmm. And I think the last thing that I would like to say is that this is a very I feel that a very good course is not a course, again, like I said before, is not something that is telling you, but is experiential. You really do feel what is being taught, and that remains with you forever when it's taught that way. So, and I mean, we have brilliant facilitators, and I'm very grateful to all of them, but specifically to Sandy, because a lot of it has come from her, and a lot of her classes have been very like life changing for me. So I have deep gratitude for those classes. I've not met her in person, and I'm still looking forward to meet her one day. But the way it is facilitated is just beautiful. Sometimes we all would really coax her to give the answers. Like, just we wanted a certain answer, but we would ask a question and we would be like, but you are not giving the answer we want. And she would be like, no, this is not where I'm going. This is it. Sit with it and inquire about it. And that would make us very uncomfortable at many times. But it also, the beauty of it was that we could, we really, it then when it came, the answer came, it really came from a innate space. It was not about, oh, I've been told this. It was about, okay, I have found out this, and this is the answer. So, yeah, that experience in itself was very beautiful for me. So, thank you so much, and that's about it.
Thank you again, Vik. It's really highlighting the fact that how the course is, I think, through all four of your sharings, that how experiential the course is, and to what Ganvi was also mentioning about what's it like to learn from an inquiry and the felt sense of it rather than being told do this, do that. So thank you for really also naming that. We can now just maybe move into if anyone has any questions, any reflections, or even if what are you in touch with right now? You can just open up the space for that. Let me see, we can take it up from there. Samarth has his hand raised, so perhaps we can hear from Samarth.
So I guess I think sensitivity to reflections. And I just what my understanding has been that a lot of these testimonials are relatable because I've experienced these in different courses, in different contexts. But uh, what I've also understood is that a good course or rather a facilitator, which is to use an automobile analogy, is like you are in a straight line speed, you are keeping a lane, but you just need those clutch and gear from time to time to so that you don't move to a different, you don't go straight from your lane. And I guess that's what I've understood that holding spaces, facilitation, whether you could be with anyone across age groups, across contexts. You just have to make sure that your job, especially in today's times of very vulnerable and fragile egos, I may say, is just being facilitator. Just give them direction, make sure that they just don't leave their lane. Just the speed may increase or decrease from time to time, but just don't let them leave their lane because you know the destination that that lane will lead to. Even if everyone's lane has, what do you say, different hairpins or lesser hairpins, someone's has more hairpins, turns, if I may say so. And I guess for our mental well-being in our day-to-day lives, that's the basic form of self-control, if I may say so, that's required from our end. We don't need to be designated that on our what do I say? Our professional bias don't need to read that. As long as we are just that clutch and gear, especially people whom we want to benefit, and people who want to benefit from us, I think we will be doing a decent enough job.
Thank you, Samarth. Yeah, what's it like to be a facilitator, and what does it mean to just walk with the other and to see what their path is like and be. Thank you. Yeah, that's also something the whole course of the year we'll look at. What's it like to hold space, walk with the other, to even what Gretchen and all the alumni shared. And into what Sandy was bringing in, once we receive what does it mean to really be heard and listened to. And that's how we can also allow that to move out as we hold space. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Hi everybody, and thanks to all four of you who shared. It was really beautiful and very deeply touching to hear your experiences of what you've gone through in the course, and I'm just wondering. This has been introduced as a mindfulness-based counseling course, but I really felt like uh, this seems to be experientially something almost spiritual or that touches quite deeply. People seem to come into some element that is, I think Gandhi was saying innate, and that word kind of touched me, a very sort of innate space of some kind. And that is what is staying with me right now, just having heard all of you. So thank you. It's always nice to come back to that space within yourself and to have others direct you to that space is beautiful, right? It really is. It's a privilege when if that can happen for you. So I resonate with so much I heard. I wanted to share that first. Thanks. My question is a little more on the logistical and the practical side of things. I work in marketing communications, and it's a full-time job that can be quite erratic. There will suddenly be an event that I have to put up a show at, like some kind of summit, or usually these things happen with a week's notice or 10 days, and then, we all go into that sort of deadline-driven mind zone where you're just living, eating, breathing that particular thing, and your life gets hijacked for that period of time. It could be a week, it could be 2 weeks, maybe sometimes a month. I'm just wondering, with workloads of that kind that require, a mental bandwidth also, where you're giving up almost all of your conscious thinking time to something, or at least it feels like that. What are the demands from a course like this, and whether it's advisable for someone in these kinds of jobs to take up, uh, a course that, from the sound of it, at least requires you to slow down and also be present when you're listening to other people. Because if you're going to come into, say, a class or a listening session with, just half of your mind there, or you're really snappish and you end up saying something that you shouldn't and that will hurt somebody else, that would be a really bad outcome for some space like this. So I'm just wondering what other people's experiences are and if there are any pointers about that.
I think anyone from the alumni, we also have Shubhangi who's joined us, who's also done the course in the last year. She's a psychiatrist. And I think, Gretchen, you were also referring to a full time kind of like job. So maybe you can kind of like answer that. And Shubhangi, feel free to, come in at any time to share your experience as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Sandy. Just like a little correction, I have my background in general medicine and nephrology.
Okay.
So, just wanted. But yes, coming back to Aarti's, like she's sitting with, I think, very important and very logical and practical aspects of the course. But in my experience, like I was also doing a lot of research at that time, though my work was not like, I was not moving a lot, like it was not outwardly kind of involvement, but I was studying a lot, researching a lot, talking to a lot of people. So in a way, yes, this course demands that kind of, I wouldn't say demand is such a high, it's a strong word, but I would say it deserves that kind of attention, that you need to slow down. But that's the beauty and that's the integral part, I would say, because what I am taking away from this entire year is just this. Then when my life is going so chaotic and I have to deal with so many things and I have to deal with so many emotions and people and responsibilities and everything, then how am I showing up for myself and for the other? So I think in the midst of all of that is actually the lab. It's actually, it works as a laboratory for me. That because that gave me very real life, very very real experiences, that when things are actually going chaotic around me, then how am I showing up? And how am I allowing the other person to show up for me also? So for me, the uh, biggest work was on how to receive that kind of presence from the other, because usually, like you also mentioned, that we can get into that snappy attitude, or we can get into that irritated mindset. But I think that was the work for me. And though it can be challenging, but again, like it is an opportunity, it's an invitation, and it is like a practice ground, I would say, that you can take forward for your entire life, and you can find ways to integrate that in your day-to-day activities. Because if you look behind all, underneath all of what was happening, for me it was this, that when life is very real, and it gets real very often, then how am I showing up as a listener, as a person? So I think it gives a very real life experience, and I would say it's like a lab. You can, and I think Aziza also mentioned like a word like experiment. So it you yeah, I mean, you have to show up, but again, it's an opportunity and an invitation.
Yes, thank you, Shubhangi. And Arti, a little bit about your question. So the course is designed as a part-time kind of like commitment. But what is expected is that for the 3 days of the course, that you are very much present. So for those 3 days, to put everything else aside and to be like really fully there. The rest of the time, like between the modules, then that is how you are adjusting your time, how you are coming into that balance with everything else. So, yes, it does need a little more space, which means that the space is for the practice of mindfulness, which is your own personal practice, which really informs then how you are holding the listening sessions. So, and that will kind of like, I feel uh, that grounds one, not just for the listening spaces, but that grounds one for your life, because it connects you back to yourself. So you take that into everything else that you do as well. So and I think that's what people have been also talking about, that it spills over. It doesn't remain like just, oh, we are like just learning about holding space and listening. It just spills over into every aspect of life. The second thing is that if we look at the assignments and what is required, then keeping aside about 4 to 5 hours per week, besides your uh, daily mindfulness practice of 20 minutes to half an hour, uh, keeping aside 4 to 5 hours a week, wherever you want to place it, whether it's on the weekend, whether it is in the evenings, however your schedule is, how your life is structured, that is what will let it kind of like flow smoothly. And this is our recommendation of 4 to 5 hours a week. And of course, it doesn't, for some of us, it doesn't always move so smoothly. But then there are a number of assignments that, okay, from this module to next module, if we can kind of like do that because that reinforces the learning from the module, then that is great. But if not, it's not like you can't catch up later on, you can catch up. But for things to go smoothly, then doing that and keeping aside that time and arranging your time that way, that would be helpful.
Sure.
Also add maybe, Arti, if you were able to look at the course details, all the modules are already fixed, so there are fixed time dates fixed. So in the past, people who have been working in the corporate and have really, hectic jobs, they've blocked those. They've put their leaves for the whole year on those 3 dates, and they've managed to show up. So it it would require some amount of planning, but yeah, the dates are available that you can block off and see if it works for you, in that sense. Want to just add that?
Yeah, we've had people from all kind of like backgrounds, and they've been involved in, like maybe sometimes even running organizations and holding positions where really it would take up a lot of their time besides their personal lives. But yet, I think like everyone is saying that 3 days remains this kind of, like that space to keep coming back to and building that capacity, and then that kind of moves into other spaces. Yeah. But it's really up to each person of how you want to carve that out in your schedule.
Okay. Yeah, no, this is helpful. Maybe just look at the dates and to really figure out how that will work given the commitments that may be coming up in the rest of the year. Maybe that will help. Thanks.
Thank you, Arti. Also mindful of the time. If it's okay for everyone, we can just maybe take a few more minutes, just checking in if there are any other questions that anyone wants to ask or share anything that's here. Okay, then so maybe we can just move towards closing our time together. Deeply grateful to Aziza, Gretchen, Revati, Ganvi for saying yes to speak about your experiences. And thank you everyone for really taking our time on a Saturday evening with this intention to know more about the course and to really show up at whatever we are trying to do here at Just Being to make sense of it or just know a little bit more about us. My name is Shivi and it's there on the screen, and I support with the counseling and the MBC course. I'm just putting a little message on the chat that has the link to the program details and also the WhatsApp number that I'm available at, and more than happy to connect and speak more if you have questions, queries regarding the course or any other thing that you're still left with some curiosity. So hoping to see some of you all join us in the course if this feels aligned. If not the course, then at least at some way, at some point. So thank you everyone, and thank you, Sandy.
Yeah. And we also have the 40 days coming up that's open to everyone. It's, of course, it is also for the course participants who enroll for the course, but it's also open to everyone else, just as a way of practicing as a community. Yeah. So see you all somewhere there. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Shikri.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.